Hello. If you are not one of my students, welcome. My name is Taya. I am an English teacher, and I'm currently teaching CLB 6. If you are one of my students, welcome, and Eid Mubarak. This video is supposed to give you a little bit of help for Wednesday's assessment. I know some students will be missing today's practice because they are celebrating. This video can be a little bit of extra help for you, but I just want to let you know that this video doesn't replace today's practice. So some students need more help than others with their writing, and I will leave it up to you to decide if you can miss today's practice or not. Even if your writing is really strong, I still recommend coming to today's practice if you can, because it will help you develop your writing skills even more. Well, anyways, uh, let's start on our video. So, uh, the plan for today's video is first, talk about the overarching goal for the winter 2025 CLB 6 class. Second, give you a summary of some of the things that you learned this class. I can't talk about everything, but I'll summarize some of the most important parts, especially the things that are important for the assessment on Wednesday. And finally, I want to give you some advice about the final assessment, and also some encouragement as well. So let's start with number one, our class goal. So as you know, my main goal for this class has been to teach you that you should not think about grammar. Well, that's not actually true. Uh, my main goal is to teach you that while grammar is important, I want to show you that maybe in order to improve your language skills, your English skills, it is more important to focus on communication. Grammar is very important, especially at the lower levels, because grammar helps other people understand your ideas. But once we get to CLB 6, for some of you, it might be a better idea to start thinking about how to improve your communication rather than worrying about your grammar. This might help you meet your goals with language and settling in Canada better. And as we go over our summary, I will maybe tie it all back to this concept of focusing on communication. And then we will talk about our final assessment and how the things we learned in class, and by focusing on communication, we can do better at this final assessment. All right, so one of the things that I have been teaching you this class, or getting you to think about more this class, is to remember your goal, the who and the what of your communication. So when you are speaking or when you are writing, uh, this always has a goal. So this means that you need to think about why you are writing what you are writing, or saying what you are saying, and what things you can do to communicate that more clearly. That might mean the language that you use, that might mean the kinds of details you need to include. And our guest speaker, Saeed, he talked about this, but maybe with other words. He said you need to remember your audience. So it's a different way to say the same thing, but remember your goal when you're communicating. And that is what you are communicating and who you are communicating it to. So one of the ways that we practiced this is by learning about different types of paragraphs. What language do you use when you summarize versus describing? What details do you include? So I encourage you to think carefully about what you want to say. And also when you are reading and listening, what the other person is trying to say to you. Because language is communication, and communication goes both ways, right? Whether you are speaking and writing or listening and reading. Okay, so the next thing that I want to focus on here is something else I reminded you about often in this class, which is to make your communication useful to the other person. Um, so we talked about this in summaries. For example, what details do you need to include? What is important? And second, uh, when we are talking about giving advice. So when you give advice, in order for this advice to help the other person, it needs to be something that they can actually use. And also, it needs to be accurate. So this is why I say it's better to write about something that you know deeply, maybe something that you struggle with when you give advice, right? It's hard to talk about something that comes easy to us and give strategies because, well, it comes easy to us. We don't need those strategies, right? So when we learned about giving advice, I reminded you to think about making sure your advice is accurate and you give all of the details that you need for the other person to understand. All right. So the third thing I'd like to talk about, our third feature of communication, is to use your own words. So I know a lot of students feel like their words are not enough sometimes and that they would like to uh, essentially improve their grammar more before they share these words. You rely a lot on ChatGPT perhaps to help you find those words. But I want to encourage you to think about writing things in your own words. And I had two guest speakers, Ada, our hiring specialist, who looked at your resume, and Saeed, a fellow instructor at Norquest who told you about his own journey with being a language learner and finding success in Canada and how important focusing on communication was for him. And so I brought these two speakers into our class as a way to encourage you to not worry so much about your own words. Like I talked about earlier with the example of the cobra chicken as a name for the Canada goose, sometimes when you say things in your own words, it has a bigger impact than when you try to find the right words from a native English speaker. In fact, I'm going to say most of the time your own words are better, as long as we can understand them, which you're so great at explaining your ideas, it's not even something I need to mention. All right, so we have our three features of communication. Remember your audience or remember your goal. Make sure that what you're communicating is accurate and you have the right details and that you say it in your own words. And our very last feature of communication here is make sure that your writing is, that what you're communicating is organized. You need to make sure that you have paragraphs with topic sentences. When we are speaking, it's important that we share the idea of what we're speaking first, because that way the other person knows what to listen for in our story. When we speak, we don't get to keep those words unless we're watching a video. So if you tell a story without sharing your topic sentence or your goal first, maybe I spend the whole story trying to figure out what I should be listening for and I don't hear the details. When we speak, we can't hit rewind and play, so maybe I'll miss the point. And when we're writing, you can't ask the person to clarify or explain again. So it's also important when you're writing to have a clear topic sentence and organize your words into paragraphs. So even though it's for different reasons with speaking and writing, for both, it is important to start with a topic sentence. All right, So let's talk about some of the ways that we learned organizing language in our class. So first, we learned about note-taking strategies like Cornell notes. Although this is for when you're listening or when you're reading, this is really great practice that will help you organize your own ideas later on. And also, when you take Cornell notes, it's really important to include a summary at the bottom to show that you can write about the information in your own words, which shows that you understand the information. So even when we are listening and reading, we can still use organization, like Cornell notes. And then when it comes to communicating, whether that is recording a video, like I asked you to do, or writing, there are other ways to organize your ideas at different stages in the process. So we talked about mind maps. This is a great way to organize your ideas when you don't really know where to start. So you put words on your paper and it gives you more of an idea about where you want to go with your writing or your speaking. And then the next stage after mind maps, or for some people, maybe you start with this, you don't even start from mind maps, everybody is different, is your outline. So outlines are a great way of creating like the skeleton of your writing. It helps give you a framework where your ideas are already organized for you into different paragraphs. And also it allows you to focus on getting those ideas on paper in brief, uh, just keywords before you lose them. So these are all great strategies to help you that we worked on in our class to help you with your organization. So these are our 4 elements of communication. And there's one more thing I want to talk about, which is less about communication but still important, which is motivation. So as a tutor, so I'm a professional tutor, I have a lot of strategies to help you with your writing. So thinking about your audience, including what the details that are important, using your own words, and being organized. These are things that I learned as a writing tutor. But I also have a master's in educational psychology. And one of the things I learned in this degree is that the most important thing for language learning, more important than anything else, is your motivation to learn. So, uh, your motivation to learn. This is something that I can't teach you, but I try to encourage you and I try to motivate you uh, in different ways. So, the career fair and the Forge Your Future event are great for motivation because ultimately, motivation means finding something inside yourself to step out of your comfort zone and do something that is difficult for you. When we feel comfortable, when we feel relaxed, we don't learn as much. Uh, when we go out of our comfort zone and try something that is a little hard, a little scary, this is when we learn. And so, this is why motivation is so important. Because when you are interested in something, you will work harder at it. And you will not even realize how far you step out of your comfort zone. Uh, I can't I can't give you motivation, um, but my role as your teacher is to try to find things that will be interesting for you, that I know you can achieve at your level, that are a little bit more difficult that you might like, but that will motivate you to try your best. And then my other role as your teacher is to be there to give you a safe place to practice because if it doesn't go perfectly, when we try something difficult, often we make mistakes. I want to make sure that you can do it in a place that is safe. So this is why, for me, motivation is a big part of my class. And I hope that I have done that with the career fair, the Forge Your Future event. Those are put on by our school, but by choosing the guest speakers that I did as well. And also, there is motivation on a big sense and motivation to just sit down and get the work done. So for this one, I gave you many strategies. We learned about Pomodoro and finding your own study style. What works best for you? Do you study best with music? Do you study best when it's quiet? Do you use certain types of music? Do you need to be around other people to be productive? So there's motivation to learn, and then there's motivation to actually sit down and do the boring stuff. And strategies like Pomodoro and finding out what works best for you are things that can help you sit down and actually do the things that you need to do, like doing your coursework every single day. All right, there's one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to motivation. So I want to talk about our final assessment, which will be on Wednesday, and my reason for choosing this assessment. So our assessment on Wednesday is going to be to write a persuasive letter to a member of government or an MP about the cuts coming to the LINK program. These cuts are very real. As you know, many schools have already closed or lost a lot of their classes. And many students, when you learned about this, not from me, but from because other courses had closed at other schools, I listened to you talk about it in class, and I heard the sadness, the disappointment, and the anger that you felt. And I thought that this would be a great opportunity to motivate you to use the English that you have to do something that causes you to go outside of your comfort zone. Um, because I listened to you speak about this and I can see that these cuts are affecting you, and maybe this gives you the motivation to want to share your ideas with other people. And so I'm going to tell you the requirements for our CLB6 assessment, but I also encourage you to go beyond that, step out of your comfort zone. Once you meet those requirements for CLB6, uh, do your very best because you will learn more from it. And also, I will be sharing these letters with members of government. And so the more of yourself you put into them, the more powerful they will be. I can't guarantee that they will change anybody's mind, but they will give you the opportunity to practice persuasive language in a real way. And they will also perhaps make you feel better about what's happening. And maybe they will have a positive impact, but the last one, of course, I can't guarantee it. For our class, this is just a writing assessment. So, first, let's look at our actual writing assessment on Wednesday. So, in today's class, you will be practicing your persuasive writing and you will be doing some peer tutoring or helping other students review their writing. And we're going to be focusing on the following. Did I write a clear request or concern? So this kind of goes back to topic sentence, right? Remember who your goal, who and what. It also goes into being organized, right? Did I write 1 to 2 paragraphs? So again, you're going to want to use the strategies we learned for organization. Oh, hold on. I forgot one. I'm back. Did you miss me? So forgot one of our organization strategies here, or one of our organization practices. This is revising your writing. So remember that when you finish your writing, it isn't really finished, uh, especially not if you want to share it with somebody else. Uh, Revising your writing, this is when we use different color markers to identify uh, sentences and where they fit in. So when you're looking at writing 1 to 2 paragraphs, remember to take the time to revise and check that all of the sentences are in the right paragraph. All right, so uh, did I use reasons and examples to support my idea? So again, we're focusing on being accurate, and we're also focusing on including those details. When we talked about giving advice, I gave you a lot of feedback about the details that you need to share to make that advice actually helpful to the other person. So I encourage you to think about that when we're working on your reasons and examples. And then did I use polite language and the correct format for a letter? So we did practice writing emails briefly, and on Wednesday I'll give you the information of who we'll be writing to. Did I organize my ideas clearly? And finally, did I check my grammar and spelling? So I guess grammar and spelling are a little important after all. So these are the basic criteria for our assessment on Wednesday. So I'm going to encourage you to go a little deeper than just the basic requirements. I want you to think very carefully about what you want to communicate if you want to get the most out of this assessment. I want you to understand your own ideas. This is where strategies like, oh, it's not on the board. Hold on just a second. Da, da, da. This is where strategies like reflective writing are really important. How could I forget reflective writing? We do it so often in my class. But anyways, there it is. So reflective writing helps you understand what your true ideas are. When we do reflective writing, you will write freely and you won't stop. So the goal is to figure out how you think. As you are writing, you might notice that you're starting to understand your ideas better. You can't really do that when you are stopping and worried about your organization. So that's why when it comes to sharing a persuasive piece of writing, it is important to do this reflective writing first, even though you will have to revise it or maybe even rewrite what you present. All right, so second, I want you to consider your strengths. This is again a place where you can focus on what you learned from your reflective writing. And the reason I'm asking you to consider your strengths is because each student in our class is different. They have different strengths, right? So some students, they are very organized and logical. When they make an argument, it is like a legal contract. There are no mistakes, nothing is left out, and everything is accurate. There are some students that are great at using emotive language. Uh, these are the students who, well, you know who you are, but when you shared your writing with me on Friday, you made me actually cry because your words were so powerful. And there are other students who are excellent at what I like to call hitting the nail on the head. Uh, but what this means is you are able to see things beyond just the surface level. You are able to see how all of the pieces come together, and you are able to uh, really, what's the word I'm looking for? you are able to see past the surface and bring all of the pieces together and create something that is uh, masterfully organized and thus meets the goal of what you're trying to do, which is to persuade somebody. So I want you to think about what those goals are or what those strengths are, and I want you to lean into them in your writing because when it comes to persuasive writing, really excellent persuasive writing has elements of ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos is your credibility. So for example, in this video, I can say, I am a university trained writing tutor, and I also have a master's degree in educational psychology. That is my ethos. That is why I can talk to you about writing and English. Uh, Pathos, appeal to emotion. This is why I say your words are powerful and your words can move people. And your and the logos, which is appeal to logic. This is why I use so many different sources of information to show you that these ideas are not just from my own personal feelings, but from other very well trained people and other people who are a lot smarter than me that suggest these strategies for you. So the reason I say that you should consider your strengths is because not everybody can focus as much on pathos and logos or ethos. You need to find your own place within here. What is your credibility for writing this? How do you appeal to emotion? And how do you bring that logic into it? And persuasive writing, it's different from person to person. Some people will have more pathos, some people will have more logos, but you always need to remember what your role is. So everyone must think about their ethos when they are presenting their reflective or their persuasive writing. All right. So I really look forward to seeing what you do with your writing assessment on Wednesday. I will be sharing the letters that you want me to share with um, government members, but you don't need to share them if you don't want to. This should be a safe place for you to practice your writing. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, I understand that as well. And I hope that I have persuaded you to see that we really have the skills to do a great job on this assessment, and that I have motivated you to really kind of go beyond the requirements for this assessment and try something different, try something scary, and learn. And especially once you have met the requirements for CLB6, I also encourage you to do something creative. I always like to try different things when I make my videos or I teach, and I will never punish someone for trying something new and different as long as they first meet the requirements for the task. All right, so that is everything. Um, Thank you for listening. I know that this video is long. I hope I've tied everything together with a neat little bow. And thank you for being my students. I genuinely enjoyed our class. I learned a lot. Thank you for your patience with me. And I hope that this class has helped you meet your goals for English in some ways. So I look forward to our final assessment on Wednesday and our last week together.